the Zim diaspora is they're very stubborn, you know, they're Zimbabwean. So Zim diaspora, to go home just like that is not easy. To ask South Africa for money, it's not easy, right? How do you ask for money and they're telling you go, bruh, and you're like, can I please have some money as I go? So I'm thinking Zimbabwe can actually help its people, right? So startup loans. So if you're living in diaspora, the government, for example, can negotiate with the banks and they can see what exactly were you doing in diaspora. And then look at the life that you're living in diaspora records, right? And then with that, get you some loan. So the loan has to be in equivalent to US dollars, like US dollars. So that this loan is not for you to buy a house. This loan is not for you to buy food. This loan is to buy the necessities of the business or open the business or legalities of the business, startup costs, so that you can get going, right? Why is this important? It's very important because we've got a lot of skill. People know how to do work. But the problem is, how do you get the resources? Where do you get the money? And most of the resources or material will normally come from South Africa or from other countries, right? So one Zimbabwe loans startup to say diasporans and the youth that are in Zimbabwe or whoever is in Zimbabwe with a greater mindset to build the economy. For example, Liberty Bwanali, I'm in the technical sector, right? Internet engineering. So I can put internet across Zimbabwe, I can put internet in schools, I can put internet in houses, I can put internet anywhere you name it. I'll bring the network there secured in a way that is, first world. That's part of the things that we've been learning. We're proud. I love South Africa. But if my people have to go, they need a plan, right? And that plan has to come from Zimbabwe. So the startup plan Zimbabwe helps you develop Zimbabwe with your people, right? So now you give this infrastructure or this investment. That means that whoever got that investment, for example, you can't then leave Zimbabwe while you still owe the government that money. You see, that's the return. If you want to leave Zimbabwe, then maybe you're going on business that is, of course, then negotiated in a sense that it meets the criteria, but you can't just leave. You can't get money and then leave. So if you get that money in Zim, you develop there. If you want to leave Zim, you pay back the money, you be on your way wherever you want to go, right? As a free person. But I feel that's the only way that most people will be tempted to just pack up right now and leave. I know a few families who are already leaving back to Zim because things have been very dire and very tough in South Africa. So it's easier to just go home. Also in Zim, a lot of people have got land. They can really start to farm. It's very important to think on those criteria. So a long 10-year business plan, say equivalence of 200,000 US dollars, that's not too bad. So that 200,000 US dollars can be put towards the 180,000 people who are on the ZEP. But out of that 180,000 people, you can scale it down to say 20,000, even 50,000 people who are really business minded. But you see, 50,000 people funded correctly, they can rise Zimbabwe in a sense that the 50,000 people can employ up to 5 or so million people. So by the time you can scale things to that level, you see Zimbabwe in the tech, we are coming up. In the agriculture, we're coming up. Trade and infrastructure, we're coming up, and infrastructure is on the roads. I hear they're doing great things currently, but you can always use extra skills. You know, younger minds, you know, older minds, they can always intertwine and work together. You know, just we need stability. You know, so stability comes when we trust one another. So 200K sounds like a lot of money, but when you're doing business, you see, I bought so many router boards, I bought so much stuff, infrastructure, of which sometimes you don't see the profits at all in time. But the company's growth and the work we're doing. So, for example, in Stellenbosch, I offer internet to students, right? I offer internet to people in the community. I offer also free internet. I'm also involved in community development, so I've got internet in places like Pick and Pay. I've got internet in different places, and that's just on the internet. And then cultural stuff whereby we build communities, you know, be kids, you know, their morale, how they grow, and look into their skills, how they grow to become what they become. So there's a lot of people, man, you know, a lot of people. Out of the 180,000 people on the ZEP, I promise you 20,000 can qualify for 200,000, you know, US dollars loan, 10-year plan to build a business in Zimbabwe, for themselves in the country. That's not a bad idea. But to just say, come home, Zimbabweans, come home, I don't see that working at all, because the difference, the gap, you know, and the lifestyle, right? You have to forget about the lifestyle. Sometimes you have to forget about the malls. Sometimes you have to forget about the nice things. You know, life is nice. You know, if you live life in a natural way, you understand that everywhere where you are put there for a reason, and you have to understand at that very moment, in that very point in time, what you're supposed to be doing there. So the Zimbabwe cries, they're not really that difficult. Zimbabwe can help its people. Zimbabwe can help South Africa ease the burden. And here's a few Shona chords actually before I close off with this. Mwana washe muranda kumwe. So mwana washe muranda kumwe means a king's son, you know, is a slave somewhere else. Or a king's daughter, you know, she's a slave somewhere else. Natsa kwa wava kwa unoenda usiku means do well where you coming from. Where you going may be dark, right? So you may need to go back just where you just came from. So if you messed up there, things may be very bad. So natsa kwa wava kwa unoenda usiku. You know, do good where you coming from. Where you going might be dark. So just be good in life, so that when karma comes back, it just comes back to bless you. Mwana singacheme anofira mbereko. You know, African mothers, when they're carrying the kid on their back, when the kid is lying there in the back there, if the kid don't cry, if it's suffocating, he's gonna die. So what they're saying is you must cry, so that the mother can hear that, you know, you're crying, so that she can tend to the child. That's how the child survives at the back of a mother to a point you don't need to be there. You know, so those signs, you cry. So when you cry, mwana singacheme anofira mumbereko. A child will not cry while being carried at the back there is going to die of suffocation. So don't die of suffocation. Simbinoro waichapisa. You hit the iron when it's hot. So everything is hot right now. So whatever move you make right now is very important. Make it wisely, make it carefully. Most importantly, be great. I'm Bwanali from Lip Connect Africa. Don't worry. We live in a world where everything perishes at some point. So you should never be afraid to be free. And you should never be afraid to try to live life and just be happy. Most importantly, take care of Africa and take care of the people. That's important.